What's going on, guys? Orange Forum coming to you guys today with our video, and we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Detroit Lions game, the final preseason. It's over with, said and done. Game 3 in the books. Lions finish off 2-1 in the preseason. Don't care too much about wins and losses in preseason. It's all about evaluation. But they did win this game. I believe it was 24-17 Detroit Lions. Over with, man. Ford Field was packed. It was a packed house, man. Surprisingly, well, not really surprisingly, but the crowd was up for it. They've had a couple false starts against the Pittsburgh Steelers O-line, so Ford Field was good, man. And the Lions win the game, and they come out of that game relatively unscathed. They did lose. Broderick Martin had like a hyperextension. Dan Campbell doesn't know how long he'll be out for, if at all out. But he was hurt. He was getting banged around a little bit too, man. He didn't have a very good game, Broderick Martin. But we talk about the stats here. I've been doing preseason a little bit different than I do regular season, mainly focusing on the Detroit Lions. I will talk about some things that the Steelers did, some of the different players that they played, and but I don't get too into detail like I do normally in the regular season. But let's get to some stats. Quarterback Hendon Hooker started this game. He was 12 for 20, 114 yards, a touchdown. He had an interception, sacked 5 times. He's still holding on to the ball a little bit too much, too long, anyways. But to be honest, to be fair for him, he was going up against, he had second, third string, fourth string backup guys on our O-line. And Pittsburgh Steelers started their defense. I don't think TJ Watt played, but they started most of their defensive guys, most of their offensive guys for the first 2-3 possessions, whatever it was. And to Hooker's credit, like he was getting rushed upon. He was, he didn't have much time in the pocket. But he was 12 for 20, 114 yards, touchdown, a pick, sacked 5 times, 2 fumbles, lost one of them, 60% completion percentage. He looked okay. He looked good. He missed some spots. He showed off his legs. I'll be talking about that in a minute too. When we talk about the rushing, but he looked okay. That's basically where I'm going to leave it at. I don't think he's won this job. This is why we kind of do this, man. This is just my opinion on this. Okay, I'll talk about quarterback Jake Fromm. I didn't think Jake Fromm was even going to play. He was 6 for 8 for 89 yards. He looked good. He looked poised. He looked in control. That's all he really did. But a 75% completion percentage. He looked better. He had a couple nice balls. I'm not saying he looked better than Hooker, but he looked in control, poised. Those two guys playing, though, Hooker playing as long as he did, I knew he needed to get the reps. I didn't think Jake Fromm was going to play at all this preseason. I know there's all kinds of fans out there screaming for Jake Fromm now to be at least quarterback 2, or at least to drop Sudfeld. My opinion on this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. We'll find out probably within the next 48 hours. I still think Jake Fromm is a camp arm. He could be a practice squad candidate. That wouldn't surprise me. I think Nate Sudfeld is our quarterback too. Him not playing that game yesterday spoke volumes to me. There's a couple guys that didn't play that I thought were going to play. And usually when you don't see guys playing in the final preseason game, it usually means one of 2 things. They already have a spot for them, or they're just pretty much going to cut him. I still think Sudfeld's going to be QB2. I have a feeling they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. I have a feeling they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks, and it's going to be Goff, obviously, number 1. Then it's going to be Sudfeld, number 2, and then Hooker's going to be your emergency number 3. It's just how I feel. I'm not happy about it. I'm not celebrating it, but that's how I think it's going to happen. I really think that's going to happen. I just don't understand why he wouldn't play. If it was really a competition, why wouldn't he play? Because I don't think they're going to cut him and just cut Sudfeld, keep Fromm on the practice squad, and then make Hooker the QB2. I just don't feel they're going to do that. I feel they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks. Fromm's going to be on the practice squad. That's how I think they're going to do, and Sudfeld's going to be QB2. We don't have to like it, but I think that's the case. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong on this, but I just don't see how it doesn't play out any other way. We'll know more about this in the next couple days. Now, rushing, quarterback Hendon Hooker had 10 rushes for 93 yards, 9.3 yards a carry. He looked like a scared rabbit out there. And I said, not his fault. Not his fault whatsoever. He was rushed consistently. Does he look to run a little bit maybe too quick? Sure. Maybe he does. But he didn't have any time, man. He had no time back there. 0. So, he was tucking the ball and he was running, and he ran well. He made a couple really nice runs for first downs. He was getting chunks. 93 yards. He was 7 yards shy of 100. So, he did run the ball well. 10 times is probably too much, but he did at least look good doing that. Then running back Jake Funk was 10 of 40. He had 40 yards on 4 yards a pop. Running back Jamar Jefferson had a nice day. 9 carries for 29 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3.2 yards a carry. Running back Zonovan Knight got 10 carries for 27 yards, 2.7 yards a carry. And guys like Craig Reynolds, Sione Vikai, not playing, speaks volumes again. I have a feeling we're going to carry 4 running backs. That's just how it's going to, I think that's how it's going to be. It's going to be Gibbs, Montgomery, Reynolds, and Vikai. That's how I think it's going to roll. Those 2 guys not playing, those 2 guys in Reynolds and Sione not playing, I think speaks volumes as well. So that's good, but I think those guys have won their battles. Receiving, wide receiver Maurice Alexander had a nice game again. He was 4 catches for 60 yards, 15 yards a catch, 4 targets, caught everything. Rookie wide receiver Jalen Calhoun was 2 for 37, 18.5 yards a catch on 2 targets. He did have a penalty and a drop though, but didn't look like Dan Campbell was very happy on the sidelines. Tight end Shane Zylstra had 4 catches for 29 yards, 7.3 yards a pop on 5 targets to try to get him going. I do like tight end Shane Zylstra. He could have won that tight end 3 battle. That's still a guy that I would like. I know James Mitchell is a little more versatile, a little more all-around tight end, but I do like Zylstra. Wide receiver Caden Davis had 2 catches for 27 yards, 13.5 yards a catch, 2 targets as well. Rookie wide receiver Isaiah Williams only had 1 catch for 17 yards a pop on 2 targets. He did have a 37-yard kick return as well, and he was the only one taking punts. He had 3 punts, and he averaged like 10 yards a punt. I think he's another guy who I think has won a spot on this team. I know they were talking about grabbing a big body at the X, but I think he's going to be a guy that's probably going to come in and at least roster a spot. I don't know if he's going to be wide receiver 4. He could be wide receiver 5 or wide receiver 6, whatever. But I think he's going to roster a spot on this team. Just a feeling. And then Jake Bates, he was 1 for 2. He had a 46-yard long field goal. He did miss a 30-yarder, though. This guy's going to be, and he had 3 extra points, too. He might have missed an extra point. I think he did miss an extra point, too. He did. Yes, he did miss an extra point. But he can't be missing extra points. He can't be missing 30-yarders. Jake Bates, I am all in on Jake Bates now. It's obvious he's going to be the guy. They're not going to bring anybody now. I don't think they're going to they haven't even brought anybody in at all. So it's going to be one of your hold your breath with this guy. It's going to be one of those. Hold your breath. You know what I mean? Misses it or doesn't miss it. So it's going to be a little bit, I think it's going to be a little bit, wrenching of the heart sometimes with him. Maybe you're going to be getting the shortness of breath, because he's got the booming leg, but his accuracy is a little bit erratic. Not saying he's a complete wild man, but he misses easy ones. He does miss the easy ones. That's what it feels like. So we got to get used to that. Hopefully it doesn't come down to, him missing, shanking a 27-yard field goal and losing a game. That's just going to be super annoying, but I think he's the guy. Obviously, they haven't brought nobody in. And defensively, we don't talk about everybody, even offense and defense too. Cornerback Stephen Gilmore had 5 tackles. He didn't play a good game though. Cornerback, another guy, Javelin Guidry, who we just brought in, he had 4 tackles. Linebacker Ty Summers had 8 tackles, 1.5 sacks. I thought one of those half sacks should have went to Matthew Betts, but they gave it to Ty Summers. Linebacker Mitchell Agude had 4 tackles. Defensive end Isaac Ukwu had 2 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Newcomer linebacker Joel Bunaway had 3 tackles and a half sack as well too. Defensive end James Houston had 3 tackles and a sack. Like I said here, I thought Betts should have had one of those half sacks when I think it was Ty Summers got in there. I forget who it was. I mean, it could have been someone else, but I thought Betts did deserve that. Maybe he got it, but on the actual stat that I saw, I follow the score. They seem pretty accurate. I'm probably following ESPN's probably better. They didn't give anything to Matthew Betts, just that he had 1 or 2 tackles. I thought he had a half sack in there, but that's okay. And then rookie defensive tackle Makai Wingo had a couple tackles. He had some pressures as well. He played pretty well, actually. Then with the Steelers, man, they went with 4 different quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields fighting for the QB1. Nobody really stuck out at all to me. I'm not the Steelers coaches, though. Even Mike Tomlin coming out saying, we got to evaluate. We still don't know. I don't know who they're going to go with. I think they're going to go with Russ, but who knows? But all 4 quarterbacks did combine for 73% completion percentage against the Lions, which is really bad look for the Detroit Lions defense. And then running back Cordell Patterson is over there. He had 3 for 31 and a touchdown, 10.3 yards a pop. The Lions did hold them to under 100 yards, though, but they did give up 2 touchdowns. Receiving, wide receiver Des Fitzpatrick had 2 catches for 64 yards, 32 yards a catch, 2 targets. Wide receiver George Pickens, 2 for 26, 13 yards a catch, 2 targets. Then tight end Michael Pruitt, 1 catch for 22 yards and 22 yards of pop. See, they had a couple starters going, obviously, but guys like Russ and Justin Field. Like Russell Wilson has been a starter. Justin Fields has been a starter. Des Patrick, George Pickens is a starter. Even at defensively, linebacker Nick Herbig had 3 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. He starts over there. Linebacker Julius Welshoff, 3 tackles, 2 sacks. Then cornerback Zion Gilbert and linebacker Mark Robinson had 8 tackles each as well. And then Cam Sutton, the old Detroit Lion, he had a tackle and a pick. He's going to be getting an 8-game suspension for doing what he did to get booted off the Detroit Lions with the girlfriend stuff, the domestics. He's getting some game time, but he is going to be getting an 8-game suspension. I don't know if he's appealed that, but he is going to be getting a suspension. But he did have an interception coming back in the Ford Field. So, up next, Lions, the regular season starts. Rams, the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions, September 8th, Sunday night at Ford Field. Should be fun. Talk a little bit about, some of the players that did well. I thought best offensive players out there. I thought Jake Burton, the O-lineman from the Michigan Panthers, played well. Duke Clemens, the other O-lineman that another undrafted free agent. He came in. He actually blocked well too. Colby Sorsdal finally had a pretty good game. Playing some O-line there. He kind of needed that after having 2 bad games. Shane Zylstra, I thought, had a nice game too as well. And then wide receiver back-to-back weeks, man, for Maurice Alexander, catching a lot of balls. He's not a big guy. He's another little guy at 5'10", 5'11", 175 pounds. Could he be a guy that slips on the roster? It remains to be seen. Don't really know just yet. They're still searching for that wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. I think they're 1 through 3 looking pretty good, but they could be scouring the waiver wire. Well, Campbell says they have been scouring the waiver wire, and they could be looking for camp cuts too from other teams. So 31 other teams will be cutting wide receivers and other players. So I expect it to be a next few days are going to be busy in the NFL. And the not so good offensive players, I thought offensive lineman Michael Neese got beat up a little bit. Rookie O-lineman Giovanni Manu struggled. Wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, a guy that I've just been begging, to do something. It looks like he's not gonna Well, it looks like he had another bad game. He had a drop. I thought he had a really bad drop. Looked like the old D lineman might have got a finger on it, but it looks like he just maybe even just missed it. But it would have been a pretty nice gain, and he just flat out dropped it. He missed a block on one play too. There was another play where Isaiah Williams had to put him in the proper place, lining up on a certain play. Hendon Hooker put him somewhere. Donovan Peoples-Jones went there. Isaiah Williams had to come over and move him. Well, that's just good awareness by Isaiah Williams, but not a good look for Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I don't know if he's going to make it, man. I hope he kind of does, but I don't know. The old lineman, Kingsley Agwakin, he had kind of a rough outing. And then tight end James Mitchell didn't do much either, man. So, those guys kind of had a bad game, those 4 or 5 guys. The best defensive players out there, I thought James Houston came back. Looked a little quicker off the ball. Looks like his knee is getting a little bit better. He did have a sack too as well, like I talked about. I think I talked about the Detroit Lions. Yeah, I talked about the Lions defense. And yeah, man. So, I thought he looked a little better. Yeah, he had a sack. He had a couple pressures. Even on that Uku sack, he was right there too as well. He was getting there. Linebacker Ty Summers has had 2 good games in a row. Could he be a guy that slips on the team? Yeah, I think he's a candidate for the practice squad. He's a good special teamer right now too, and I think he's kind of doing what Malcolm Rodriguez is supposed to be doing right now. Malcolm Rodriguez has been banged up. He hasn't practiced. He hasn't played in a while, so he could be a guy that kind of slips on this roster. Then linebacker Joel Igbinowe, he looked pretty good out there. Defensive end Isaac Ukwu, another good player. And the defensive tackle Makai Wingo, I thought had a couple nice tackles, got on the stat sheet, and he had a few pressures too. I think he almost had a fumble recovery as well too. So he's all over the place, man. Makai Wingo, making plays, making pressures. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a rotational guy, I have a feeling. So I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be on the squad as well as a 6th-round pick, and that's pretty impressive. But we'll see. My predictions mean nothing. And then the worst defensive players, guys, defensive end Josh Pascal, I thought was a ghost. Cornerback Javelin Guidry, he got beat up, man. He got burned on a long ball. Safety Brendan Joseph didn't look good that game either. Nose tackle Broderick Barton was getting pushed around. And then cornerback Stephen Gilmore, he didn't look good either at all. He's had a pretty rough preseason. Stephen Gilmore, this was a big fan favorite coming in last year, who was phenomenal as a rookie in the preseason. Came in, had like 2-3 picks. He hasn't done much. He's gotten burned a few times. He needs to step up his game, but I think he's a practice squad guy. I don't think they're going to cut him, but those were the guys, best and the worst of that game. So that's it, guys. I thought a few guys played well. A few guys won jobs. You could tell by who dressed on game day. I know guys like Sudfeld not dressing, to me, is a sure sign that, in my opinion, that I think he's won the QB2 battle. Craig Reynolds and Sione Vaikai, those 2 guys, 3 and 4, whatever you want to place them. You already know who our 1 and 2 is in the running back room. 3 and 4, pick your poison. Vaikai or Craig Reynolds, it doesn't matter. But those 2 guys not playing or not dressing or whatever, that even if they did dress, I didn't see them out there. They didn't do anything. So that just goes to show you that they were looking at other guys. That's just my opinion. That that they've already got their mind made up for quarterback situation and some of the running back situation. Obviously, they got some other stuff that they got to think about. There's probably some cornerback stuff that they have to kind of figure out. Some old lineman depth issues that they have. It's there. So everything's not in stone. We are a couple weeks away. We're literally like 10, 11 days from kickoff in the normal season. Lions kick off, I believe, in like 14 days. So like a couple weeks. We're here, man. It's here. The preseason's over. Thank goodness. We don't got to hear no more nonsense about it. Let's just stick to playing. Training camp is officially over. You're not going to see any more reports from me unless something major happens. But I'm going to try to come up with some stuff, guys. So, not over with. The videos will still come. I just got to come up with some new material, and Training camp was fun, man. This whole training camp, I love doing the training camp reports, the observations. I love it that guys like John Macaron and all those guys, Eric Schlitt, Tim Twentyman, Justin Rogers, Jeff Riston, they all come out and they put out the info, and I try to get the info out to you guys. Those guys get all the credit. They're the hard workers right here. And, it's always fun doing training camp observations because you learn a lot about players that you've never really heard about, man. It's good. It's good for the football brain. It's, football feeds you. Football is my go-to. It's, this kind of stuff feeds my anxiety. It kind of melts it away, the anxiety. It feeds it and then it melts it away, if that makes any sense, and it kind of regurgitates it right off my body. And it's just something that I love to do. And training camp observations was fun. But now we're on the real deal. We're at week 1, coming on the corner. Matty Staff's coming to town. Matty Staff's gunner 9's coming to town. He's looking for revenge. So we got a couple more weeks of practice. I'm probably gonna do another video coming up soon in a day or two. Maybe some predictions on our roster, or just talk about some guys that did and didn't make the roster. We'll figure it out, guys, but I really appreciate you guys coming in, man. So thanks a lot, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button up bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell up top. Don't forget to like, comment, share this out. Really appreciate it. Football is back, baby. Let's go. Boom.